If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, and yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Luke 14:26. You must have read or heard that famous story. The young man is sitting by a pond. Jesus watches him. He is busy with the fish, the young man. Jesus asks him, "Will you just continue fishing? Will you just keep fishing? Or is there something that is more important to you?" The young man looks at Jesus. Then he looks at the fish. He looks at his entire life in that sudden flash. And he gets up. He says, "I'm coming along." He does not know Jesus. He does not know where Jesus has come from. He does not know where Jesus is going. But he has a certain honesty. Once he has seen, suddenly, inexplicably, unreasonably, what Jesus is, then he cannot deny Jesus. Now he cannot continue with his old worldly ways. Now the fish appears so insignificant. He says, "I'm coming." In fact, he does not even say this much. He just comes. And such are the ways of Maya. Just then, he receives news that his father is no more. He looks at Jesus. Jesus says, "Let the dead bury the dead." Now that you have come, just keep coming. Let the dead bury the dead. That is the essence of what Jesus is saying here. There is either the dead or there is God, and there is no other choice available. If you are not choosing God, then you are choosing the dead. Did you see that in the beginning of this session, I had to specifically say that please get rid of your husbands, wives, friends, concerns and attachments for a while? I had to specifically instruct that you must not sit with your partners or spouse. There can either be God here or your spouse, and your spouse is the hindrance between you and God. Jesus does not mince words. He very clearly says, unless you are totally free. When he says hate, he does not mean another activity. He means totally free, not attached. Unless you are totally free of the persons you are with, you cannot come to me. If you are sitting between strangers here, then they will not harm you. They are strangers. But if you are sitting with your brother or your girlfriend, she will harm you greatly. He will harm you greatly. If there is a stranger next to you, the stranger will keep to himself. But if there is your boyfriend next to you, the boyfriend will keep touching you, disturbing you, and you won't even realize that your boyfriend is your nemesis. Your boyfriend is your enemy. He has been stealing you away. And does that not happen? I see it happening daily. People come as pairs and leave as pairs. Even in front of God, they remain husbands and wives. How will you ever come to the truth if you insist on remaining a person?
Do we have to hate the father? We just can say, okay, it's my father, but it doesn't prevent me from being free.
You cannot be forced to do something. When Jesus says Father, you must understand what he's saying. When Jesus says Father, he is talking of the cause that gave you the body. He is talking of the cause behind all your physical identification. Until the time you keep calling somebody as your father, how will you ever accept the only one father? You are saying my father is there in that home, in that district. And Jesus is saying you cannot have two fathers. You cannot have multiple relationships. Your only relationship, your only commitment has to be towards the one. But if you are committed to this world, and the world is not an abstraction, when you are attached, committed, devoted to the world, it is to specific faces that you are attached to. You are not attached to that random man on the street. You are attached to the woman in your home. That is why Jesus is compelled to name. Otherwise, he could have just stated as the Upanishads state. The Upanishads talk in a very refined language. The Upanishads speak from a height. But Jesus is the salt of the earth. He speaks right from the ground. He will not just say world, attachments and general principles. He names, he comes to the specifics. He says brother, sister, husband, wife, father and mother. These are the ones who cause you suffering and nobody else. The stranger can never disturb you. But if the one sitting next to you is your boyfriend, then he will surely keep disturbing you. The stranger will not ask you to get up and go away. But your wife will keep reminding you, it is time, let us go away, darling. The food and the bed is calling. Do strangers ever harm us, or is it our friends who harm us? Only those can harm you who are the closest to you. Strangers are so far away, how can they harm? But the ones you call as your relative, as your loved ones, they sit right next to you. It is so easy for them to harm you. Kabir has put it beautifully. He names 4. Mat, Pita, Sut, Istari. He says, whenever you will proceed towards a divine task, these are the 4 who will block you. Mat, Pita, mother and father. Sut, your sons and daughters. Stri, your spouse. These are the ones who will always prevent you from doing the right thing.
मात पिता सुत स्त्री आलस बंधु कानी साधु दरस को जब चले
Ye atakave kani. Whenever you will want to go to meet the sadhu, these are the ones who will raise hindrances. Kabir is just saying what Jesus had very bluntly said a long while back. When we say the world is the bondage, I am asking you, is the man sitting there in some unknown district having no relationship with you? Is he your bondage? Who keeps you down? Whose face comes to your eyes when you move towards anything? Does the commoner on the road have any power or control over you? Who is it? We cannot talk in generalities. We cannot say the world is an illusion. Name the world. Put a face to the world. The world has a name, a face, an address. And if you're honest, then you will confess that the world has such and such faces. How many numbers are there in the address book of your phone? The population of the world is 8 billion. And you have 500 numbers. The 8 billion are not coming to possess you or take control of you. It is these 500. And amongst these 500 also, there are 5 that you have listed as emergency numbers, as intimate numbers. The more intimate a person is, the more intimately he will enslave you. And one cannot sugarcoat this fact. I know it hurts. I know you are left groping. You do not know what to do with this statement. You feel like asking, even if it is true, now what to do? Give up on my family? I don't know. You figure out. But it is my responsibility to not to dilute what Jesus has been saying. It would be sacrilege to sugarcoat what a Jesus or a Kabir has said. Kindly relook at your relationships.
It isn't the entrapment in yourself, in the power that you give. How can they really entrap you? So that you've given that person power. If you love them, but hold on to your own power, how can they be a hindrance to you? Because you're free.
The one that you are talking of is itself a product of the ones you are attached to. Do you have any independent power? When you are talking of you, in the middle of friends, relatives, acquaintances, parents, wife, sons and daughters, who are you? You are a product of all of these. When you are a product of all of these, where is the question of any power independent of all of these? Even your highest power is a slave to these people because they are the ones who gave you everything that you have. Husband gives you security and sex. Parents gave you your body. Kids give you consolation for the future. Your social network makes you feel civilized and wanted. Everything that you have is coming from them. Now, how can you have a power that is independent of them? Which power are you talking of?
Well, there's a man left his nets. You told us about the man who left his nets and fishing.
So that is the power to respond to the call of Jesus.
That's the power that you have.
Yes, and that is the power to leave the dead to the dead. Then you don't say that I will exercise this power to remain with the dead. But you are saying, no, I can remain there and still use my power. That man who left the fish, did he use his power to remain with the fish? No. That power is the power of Jesus, and that power leads you only to Jesus, not to anybody else. The fish are left behind. Even the Father is left behind. But you are desiring something totally opposite. You are saying, no, I'll use the power of Jesus to stay with the fish. Aha. The power of Jesus can be used only to come to Jesus. The power of truth leads you only to truth and nowhere else.
I think you can stay with someone and say, in this you will not bind me. In this I will exercise my power and do this.
Maybe we should tell Jesus to make amends to his words then. Huh? Maybe we are smarter than Jesus. Yeah, we are.
Maybe we have different viewpoints. Maybe I have heard about Jesus' word in a different way.
Here it is.
Yeah.
In front of you.
Exactly. And so many other places. And you can make, just like with everything, you can make a deeper understanding.
But here it is, right in front of you. Why are you talking of this and that? Here it is, in front of you.
Yes, exactly. Your explanation.
The words are so direct. Unless you are intent on disfiguring them to suit your personal priorities, you cannot miss.
So in that case, if everyone meets God, there will be no human race anymore. How is that?
There would not be a human race like the one we have right now. Don't say no human race. You are coming from an ego-based assumption that the only kind of humanity possible is the one that you have created. This will not be there. How do you know that nothing will be there? Yes, the ones that you are with will no more be there. But how do you know that you will be with nobody? Something more beautiful, something real, something of Jesus will be there. When you are not there, then the truth is there. When you have not decided for yourself, then the truth decides for you.
It says in the Old Testament, it is not good for man to be alone.
Yes, it is not good for man to be alone, and the way we are always alone. Lonely rather, always. What is the mark of loneliness? The mark of loneliness is self-confinement. I am only this much. The mark of not being lonely is I am vast. And when you are vast, then you cannot limit yourselves to 4 people. Father, mother, kid 1, kid 2. And everybody else is an outsider. Then the entire universe is your family. Then you are not attached to one.
I think you can have both. When the entire universe is your family, you can also have
You must figure out why are you insisting on both. It is exactly what Jesus said. You cannot have God and mammon both. You cannot have both. He is putting that here without mincing words. He is saying you cannot have both. You must figure out why the thought of having only one scares you so much. If the one scares you, then essentially you are scared of God. And if you are scared of God, forget about meeting Him. Then you can live with the family, which is all right, and totally forget God, which is equally all right.
What does it mean to leave the family? The word leave can mean a lot of different things.
Yes. No, not physical. Physically, you cannot leave anything or anybody, because physicality is always so relative. Right now, you are here and your family members are in the next room. The distance is of a few meters. You can start living elsewhere and then the distance of a few kilometers. What do you call it as? Leaving? What kind of leaving it is? Just the distance has changed. Leaving means something totally different. Leaving means that everything about you is subservient to the truth. You do not decide on the family. The truth decides on the family. You are going towards God. And you meet more who are going towards the God. And because you are co-travelers, you now have a family. That is the family. You did not decide on the family. You only decided on God. Your only goal, intention, motivation and center was the truth. But in the way of the truth, while walking in truth, you happen to meet a few other people. Now they are family. They will no more be family the moment they digress from truth. They are family only as long as they too are going towards the truth. Both of you are not going towards each other. Both of you are going commonly towards truth, and hence it appears that you are with each other. It's like being in the same railway compartment. He is going towards that infinity. She too is going there. They happen to meet, and it is family. Now if she gets down, he won't get down with her. He has to go. His first priority is the truth. Everything else comes later. Now the family will not decide whether or not you will go to truth. The truth has decided what your family would be. Which also means that now you cannot have a definite family. Which now means that your family now is anybody who is traveling with you. Your family now is dynamic. You have not committed yourselves to a particular man or woman. You have committed yourself only to the truth. As long as the man or the woman is equally committed to the truth, he stays with you, coincidentally. So it's a dynamic family now. It is a universal family. You are not closed, you are open. You are not identified with anyone. If at all you are identified with the truth. That is the family of one like Jesus. You saw how he went around with his disciples. Family. And there was a woman as well. Family. Family. Why family? Not because we love each other, but because he loves truth and I too love the truth. In your family, you love each other. In a divine family, people hardly have anything to do with each other. Everybody has something to do with that, their common center. And because the center is common, because the heart is one, because the truth is one, So the more you move towards truth, the more you keep getting united, and that is called love. That is real love. We are not coming to each other. Imagine a circle, and a man and a woman are located at 2 points on the circumference, 2 distinct points, and the center is the truth, and both of them keep coming towards the center. As they come towards the center, which is their common center, what happens to the distance between the man and the woman? What happens?
Diminish.
It reduces. Now they are not coming towards each other, mind you. They are both coming towards the center. And because they are coming towards the center, their mutual distance also diminishes. They are not looking at each other. The day the man says, "Darling, please leave truth and come with me," the woman will kick her away. The day the woman becomes a hindrance in the man's movement, the man will have nothing to do with her. Now that is some family. But that is not how our families are, right? Our families are self-enclosed, self-serving units. This family, that family, that family, that family, all vying for their self-interest. Competing even. Jesus is saying you must hate such families. And unless you hate such families and your life there, then you cannot come to Jesus. It is only when the false family is gone that the right family emerges. And if you are too attached to the false family, then the right family can never come. If you are too identified with the wrong man or woman, then you have had it. I often say, how do you know whether you are with the right person? Just find out what is the influence of that other person on you. What does he do to you? How do you feel in his company? If you feel a certain peace in his company, he is auspicious for you. But if he is an element of disturbance, he keeps touching you, fiddling, whispering, taking your mind elsewhere, then he is an evil influence. A person is good for you only if he makes you feel more inward, more of yourself. And if a person takes you away from yourself, he is not good for you. If a person keeps demanding attention, he is not good for you. The real lover will always want to leave you alone because he will know the value of peace. He will not try to meddle in your life. He will present with you, but not really identified with you. Because he will be a lover, he will want that you keep moving to your center, that you gain more of yourself. And that gaining more of yourself, that feeling an inward completeness and security, that is called aloneness. Be with a person only if you can be alone with that person. If a fellow excites you, he is not right for you. Because excitement means you are going away from your center. That is one criteria. If a fellow excites you, avoid him. If the sight of a woman makes you forget everything else, pray for your safety. It is not a laughing matter. We are paying a huge price. The words of Jesus are coming from great compassion. He wishes you well. He is not an enemy. So when he is saying something, kindly take it to heart.
It is an enemy of the social order.
Yes. And of everything that destroys you, he is enemy of that.
Just something I'm quite understanding. Why would we have to leave or change any situation from the external in order to try to find out or try to be what we already are?
Because when you move inwards, then the external also changes. Now if you are attached to the external, then you will block the external from changing, and when you block the external from changing, you can no more move inwards.
If you're already going inwards, then it would happen automatically because it wouldn't be the you
Yes,
doing anything.
yes. So here,
To do anything
yes,
would be almost a waste of time.
yes. So you must not block. Blocking is doing. You sit here,
Sure.
and this is.
It's coming naturally.
Ah.
It's expressing it.
But
in
even
that way.
when-
Leave it in your own time as it occurs.
Even when it comes, remember, it is coming always. You're talking about the invitation of the heart. It is always there. So what do you mean by it coming naturally?
What I mean is, if you are already there, then why? Okay, you would change it if it automatically moves that way. It moves that way. If you move that way,
The call of the truth is always there, right?
sure.
Why is man not with and in truth? The call is always there. The gates are always open.
Because people
It is natural and automatic, but it is still not happening. Why?
not notice.
Who's thinking?
Why?
People don't notice.
Why don't we notice? Because we are busy with other things.
They're not looking.
We are looking elsewhere. Busy with other things. That is what is called as blocking. So don't say that when it will happen naturally, because it is always prepared to happen. You by your doing block it.
So you're saying, as you realise that you are that space, and you realise yourself, naturally, if you want to use that word, you will stop blocking the innate.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
You're saying that we
there-
desire deep down.
Yes,
take away the word
yes,
desire,
yes,
in our inner being,
yes.
we don't want to be with anyone.
yes,
That's what you're
yes,
saying.
yes.
And that naturally, at the moment, we're blocking that with
Yes.
our relationships. As soon as we drop our relationships, no, as soon as we go into that space, as soon as we realize, which is there all the time, I know, but we're using it as words. As soon as you drop into that space, everything else will leave. You'll leave everything.
That is the stupidity of the ego.
It's like,
You see, on one hand, it wants to drop. On one hand, it is really fed up of carrying the load. On the other hand, when it comes to the moment of dropping, it gets so afraid that it cannot drop. That is why something outside of ego is needed to facilitate the dropping, and that is called grace, which is always there, but the ego blocks it. Even the blocking gets dropped when at least in one matter, you can say that mind has free will. It is the matter of surrendering. Surrender cannot happen without your consent. That is what I mean when I repeatedly say don't block. It is a permanent invitation. But you will have to say yes. The lover is standing with a bouquet of roses at all times, right on your gate. But you will have to open the gate. You know, Jesus had said that Knock and the door shall be opened. It can be put a little differently for the sake of understanding. It is not as if you have to knock at the gate of truth. It is not as if the gate of the truth is closed. The gate of truth is always open. How can you knock? Truth is always knocking at your door. Jesus is saying, you open your door. Truth is present in front of you at all times, and he keeps knocking.
But your gate is closed.
It's closed. And the truth is a lover, carrying red roses. And you are spurning him. You have to unlock the door. You have to unblock the way. I may keep on saying these things, but unless your heart is opened, these things will fall just on the ears. Now, physically, there is no passage that leads from the ear to the heart. The ear only leads to the mind, the brain. Grace is when a sudden highway opens up between the ear and the heart. I don't know whether it is there, only you can know. Sometimes when it opens up, you go and block it. You say, no. Too dangerous. It must come to the mind, I'll process it, analyze it, think about it, I'll sit over it, chew it. And when you chew it, you only make cud out of it.
Would you say that the ego ultimately agrees to surrender?
That ultimately can take 10 billion years.
If the ego has the experience apart to something like seeing, you said we can't know what truth is, but we can know what is false, and we can drop the false. So if that happens in one area, in one instance, there's the experience that it's the new situation is better than the old situation. So would that ego not then cooperate in its own dissolution?
Yes. It is not an experience. It is again a lessening of experience. When you were carrying that falseness, it was leading to experiences of all kind. When you have dropped it, those experiences have reduced. So this lessening of experiences emboldens the ego to drop more. You are afraid. Fear is an experience. Now you are less afraid. So you are more bold to drop more.
That's what I meant by gaining strength.
Not gaining strength, but dropping weakness.
An indirect gaining of boldness. But strength is a word, boldness is
The
a word.
moment you talk the language of gaining and becoming, you are again being ambitious in the worldly way.
I would say, we could say, returning to a more natural condition, which inherently has its own integral strength.
Yes. Returning is a better word than going.
That's my intention.
Yes.
That's what my intention was.
Maya is very subtle. In spite of the best intentions, it can make you go crazy.
And it can make someone else misunderstand and react to a misunderstanding, which is no bearing to the fact of what I'm saying.
Yes. But you see, you have to see, when you say gaining, don't you use the word gaining in several other contexts as well? I'm going to gain a little bit of weight. My bank account has gained. When you are using the word gaining in all those contexts, how can suddenly you use the word gaining in a spiritual context also? I'm not enforcing anything of mine. I'm just asking you to reflect on how you use affirmative words in your daily life. When you are using all those words that way, then how can you suddenly use those words this way? That is why you must pay attention to your choice of word. When you keep saying, I have gained this mobile phone, immediately the mind is habituated more to addition, to accumulation. Accumulation. I have gained reputation. I have gained money. Now that is an addition. That is an increment. Now you are saying, I am gaining the truth. Will the mind suddenly lose the previous image? No. Images have a stickiness. It will still use the word gaining in the same sense as it had used in the morning.
Then I shall use the word regaining, or better, recovering.
Just be conscious that it cannot be the same word. Words otherwise are meaningless. But words reflect the fact of the mind.
But is the intention not more important than the word?
No. Because between the intention and the happening sits Maya. The intention of anybody is always to be peaceful. But what does he end up doing? Anybody who is ever acting, is he acting so that he becomes more harassed, more disquiet, more disturbed? Is the intention ever to become pitiable? Intentions are always noble, but the acts are deplorable.
In normal life, there are different languages. There's Italian, there's English. And I had the direct experience that there are the same words in the two languages, and they can have a different meaning. So when I hear that word from an Italian speaker, they have a certain meaning, and I have a certain meaning. And I respond to the meaning I hold, which has no relation to their actual intention.
Right.
So that's why I say the intention is more important than the word.
I'm not saying compare the meaning that you hold to the meaning that somebody else holds. I'm saying see how you use that same word yourself in different contexts.
But we're here in this context, not in other contexts.
Will you use the word love differently in different contexts? Do you? Does it happen? When you say, I am gaining, do you really mean different things in different contexts? Is it not always a sense of addition, furtherance, accumulation? You have to tell.
Then I change it to regaining. But the intention didn't change. I changed the word.
Intention cannot change because the intention of the mind is always to return to the center. So don't talk of the intention. Intention is a given. No point talking of it again and again. The intention of you, me, this, that stone, that kitten, that monkey, all are carrying the same intention. The intention is to be dissolved. The intention is to relax. So don't talk of intention. What matters is the action of the mind, not the intention. Have you not heard that? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. In spite of all your good intentions, you might be finding yourself in hell. So keep a watch over the facts. Don't hide behind intentions. Keep a watch over what really is happening. Don't defend it by saying, oh, it is happening this way, but my intention was proper. Oh, I kicked you, but my intention was to kiss you.
But it happens all the time that what you're talking about, facts and then interpretation according to our biases and prejudices. So we kick ourselves. Something happens, like you said, your spouse can never hurt you, only your own prejudices can hurt you. So someone might say something, but it triggers an association and we kick ourselves. So is that any responsibility of the person, or is it responsibility of what? Association, prejudice, interpretation.
Are these two different?
Yes.
How?
He might use a word.
Is he any different from what you hold of him? When you say, is it his responsibility or the responsibility of the bias? Is he any different from the bias that you hold? Is he himself not a projection of the bias? Do you know of him as anything other than the bias that you hold of him?
I may not know, but a thing is a thing in itself, regardless of what I know about it.
No. The universe has no objective existence.
Didn't Krishnamurti say, see the thing in itself?
He's saying do it because we don't do it. He's saying do it because we don't do it. When he's saying observe the universe, then in that observation, the observer also melts. The next thing that he says is the observer is the observed. When he's saying observe the universe, he's saying observe yourself. And if the observation is honest, then observer, observed, all are gone. Looking sharply at facts is facilitated greatly by looking at our own choice of reactions, behavioral patterns and words. Why words? Because words are so gross that it is easy to catch them. And because words have been given a definite dictionary meaning, so it will be difficult for us to be dishonest there. The dictionary will keep calling our bluff. Paying attention to language.
Then why Jesus used this word, doesn't hate his harm father? I mean, why he used this hate?
It was intentional. He wanted to provoke you. If he just says, don't be attached, then you can quickly turn around and say, no, I'm not attached. So this advice is not for me. He is saying you must actively hate. Now you cannot agree with Jesus. Now Jesus is saying something that is unacceptable to you. He is saying you must hate. He is not saying something mediocre, mild, passive. He is not saying you should not be attached. Because if he says you should not be attached, you will quickly say, oh yes, I am not attached to my wife. No, not at all. Just that I talk to her 20 times a day. No, not attached. Your call register can call your bluff only if you look at the facts. So Jesus is saying something that you cannot quickly assimilate, cannot quickly co-opt. He's saying hate. Now will you say, yes, I already hate my wife? Will you say that? Now you cannot say that. So you are stuck.